Emmy nominations are here. This is the Primetime Emmys.
Yeah. Iranian artist Farhad Moshiri passed away this past week, and he's very influenced by pop art and conceptualism art. So he combined both of these ideas of having something that's very visually appealing with a very rich and strong concept.
So now we're going to talk about something that's like very big and in the news. Bella Hadid has been removed from an Adidas campaign.
If you're in Dubai and it's summer and you want to see a really great show, I recommend you go to Ayam Gallery in Asakala Avenue. There's a wonderful photography exhibition.
It is a wonderful restaurant at Atlantis The Palm. It's a 1 Michelin star restaurant. It is not a meal, it is genuinely a journey. Hi everyone, today we'll be talking about the best of this year's Emmy nominations.
And the memory of Iranian artist Farhad Moshiri.
And the controversy surrounding Bella Hadid being dropped from Adidas's latest campaign. This is Culture Bites, coming to you from the National News in Abu Dhabi. I'm Farah Andrews.
And I'm Maan Jalal. Hi.
It's just two of us.
It's just the two of us.
So I was away last week, but I'm back.
Yes, where were you last week?
Ill.
Oh, yes, of course.
Boring.
I feel like every other week it's one of us that's been ill.
Yeah.
And this week Inas is in London, as from last week's episode you would know. She's in London.
So she's traveling for a few weeks. We're here.
You feeling better?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
We're good.
It's just that summer cold.
Yeah, it's
summer
going around,
AC
isn't it?
thing.
Like
yeah, it is.
Our team has been like dropping like
Suffering
flies.
slowly, yeah. But we've made it through.
Yeah, it started with you then. Yeah, but we're back. We're here. We're all good.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about this week?
So much to talk about. And I think the most exciting thing to talk about initially is the big news from last week, Emmys.
Yeah, so the Emmy nominations are here. We have got the full list. This is the Primetime Emmys.
Yeah. So what's the difference? Do you know?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I was going to say, should we do some homework?
Yeah, let's
Emmys
do some
homework?
Because
Okay.
I felt like the Emmys were the other day.
Well, you are so right in so many ways, man. So the Primetime Emmys are the big one, really. So it's like the big celebration of television, primarily US television. And Primetime Emmys is so it's like the main shows, the kind of like big nighttime hits. And then there's also the daytime Emmys. That's like soap
Like the soap
operas
operas and stuff.
and like daytime chat shows. They literally were just now. They take place every summer. But then it's even more complicated this year because the 2023 Emmys didn't take place until January.
Yes, that's why I'm confused.
Because of the Hollywood labor disputes.
Yes. So that's why we have technically 2 Emmy ceremonies this year.
Yeah.
Because these ones are the nominations that came out. It's going to happen in September.
Yeah, so this awards ceremony is taking place on the 15th of September. And it's also not completely straightforward because it's not a calendar year that it covers. It follows a television year. So the shows that have been eligible for the coming Emmy Awards are TV shows that have been aired from June the 1st, 2023 until May 31st, 2024. So that's the window. It's kind of like a school year.
So a lot of the shows that we might be watching now that we're really into probably won't get nominated because they're not part of that year.
Yeah, exactly. So like shows like the latest series of Bridgerton and House of the Dragon both weren't eligible for this series, for this event.
Season, yeah.
Kind of like the big names of this show have been, one of them is The Bear. That's kind of like been pretty significant. We'll talk about that in a bit more in depth. But people have been kind of like, oh, why is it series 2 of The Bear, not series 3? Because that's just been on. And if it's a streamer, is it not all, because everything goes up on the same day, is it not all available? And it's all been within like the kind of like pre-nominations being announced. But no, that's the window. So it's basically June to June.
And it's interesting because a lot of people don't know that there's like a window of a window where you can be eligible, even with the Oscars. Like there's a lot of films that get missed for nomination because they weren't aired during the right time.
Yeah, so the award season, like traditional film award season, is a calendar year. So it's like if we have the Oscars in like around about March each year, it kind of finishes, it's the calendar year before that, which is why in December there's like a traditional like burst of really traditional like high cinema that kind of comes out like real like arty films that come out in December. Kind of like that's not like a feel good end of the year flick.
It's not a Christmassy film.
But they have like sometimes like a 1 week run in cinemas just to get into that calendar into that calendar year. Then they're in award season, and then they'll have like a longer theatre run sometimes around about the award season. So it's
So
like
people can watch them
keeping
because they're
everyone-
getting the buzz up.
Yeah, exactly. It's very conversational. It's good marketing.
It
right?
is. Very good strategy. Yeah.
So which shows that are nominated have been some of your favorites this year?
So I haven't watched as many shows I would have liked, I thought. And then when I saw the nominations, I was like, oh, I like this. I like this. So I realized that I have seen quite a bit. So Shogun.
I've not watched it.
I came late to the game. It was popular like last year. I just watched it like a couple of weeks ago. And I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So do you know anything about it?
Give me the full rundown.
So it was based on a novel. There was a mini-series in the 1980s. It's based, historical fiction based in the 1600s Japan, where a British man is marooned onto Japan when Japan was kind of closed off to the world. And he gets kind of locked into this really complicated political game between these 5 Japanese lords who are trying to take control of Japan after the main king dies.
Okay.
And so he's like this foreigner who doesn't know what's going on, but he has some interest like to do with trade with Japan. And all these kind of lords are sort of using him as a political, as a pawn in their games. But what's interesting is that there's also like a little love story with his translator, who's like a Japanese. She's nominated. What's her name again? Her name is Anasawi. And she plays Toda. So I think she's nominated for Best Actress.
Okay.
So she and the main guy have like a little romance.
So that show leads nominations with 25. That is significant.
Yeah, because production value, music, costumes, acting, it was really amazing.
And then second is The Bear.
Yes, which
Have
is
you watched The
I
Bear?
have not. I know you and Inas are really into it, and
we
I keep
waxed
telling
lyrical about it.
and it couldn't be more different than Shogun.
Right. Yeah, to be fair. It's I mean, it is also like the cinematography in that show. It sounds like very like, oh, the cinematography. But my goodness, it is beautiful. I mean, like food is so beautiful. Like food imagery is stunning. So The Bear is stunning. I can completely see why it's got as many nominations as it has. The acting in it is phenomenal. The show is beautiful. And
what's the quick synopsis of it? Like, what is it? 'Cause I still don't know. I know it's cooking, and I know it's like, you know, the what is it? The high pressure of being in the kitchen and that kind of stuff.
So the kind of starting from the very beginning, because we're now on season 3, and season 2 is what's nominated for these awards. But overall, the premise is a chef called Kami, who is a kind of like Michelin trained, like haute cuisine chef, like proper like white tablecloth, proper service.
Super
chef.
fancy.
Super fancy. And his brother dies. And his brother ran a kind of like greasy spoon in Chicago. And he inherits that from his brother when he dies. And so it's kind of like this like fancy chef going in and kind of clashing, but also clashing with like the culture in the kind of like much more relaxed establishment. And then also kind of like wanting to preserve it because it's his brother's memory and kind of all of that kind of like pull.
Yeah. So food's a vehicle to all of these, you know, themes of family and
you can't watch
stuff.
it without being absolutely ravenous. So it's the family are kind of Italian American in Chicago, and the food looks, all of it is phenomenal. And like when the first series came out, there were listicles of like all the recipes, all the cookbooks that Kami references, because they're real. Like the chef inspirations are real. And this is flashing forward to season 3, but in season 3, we see him at Noma. I think that happens in season 2 as well. They go to Copenhagen.
Oh, right.
And we see him at Noma, which is like one of the most famous Michelin star restaurants in the world. He cooks with, I'm going to butcher this French name, but Bouland, the chef. He's got a restaurant here in Dubai. And so he's in the show cooking up one of his most famous dishes, which is like a fish wrapped in potato. That's a real thing. And we have like the actor with the chef kind of cooking.
Cool.
It's cool.
And that chef's playing himself?
He's not, it's not, that role isn't a speaking part. He's
just like there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And kind of like being like a mentor to the character. Please.
Why is it called The Bear?
Because the family's called Bazzano and Kami gets called The Bear.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought maybe the restaurant was called The Bear. No.
That does eventually happen, but originally the restaurant was called Beef.
Right.
But in season 2, it's called The Bear. Yeah. Beef.
Beef.
What
do we serve? Beef.
That says like original beef. What was I going to say? Oh, so the big kind of regional nomination there is, so Rami Youssef has been nominated for directing one of the episodes.
Episode?
In season 2. It's an episode where they go to Copenhagen. Obviously, Copenhagen is like a foodie haven. It's a beautiful episode. It's such a good episode.
I was just going to ask, can you tell that it's like a different director compared to the other episodes?
Yeah, and like they've done it quite a few times in The Bear. It doesn't feel like super stylistically jarring, but when you see it after, you're kind of like, oh yeah, like there was a different feel there. But it's a beautiful episode, and it's about kind of like one character in particular.
I never knew that Rami directs. I thought he was just like a writer and an actor for the Rami show.
Yes, same. But I like that they kind of get the kind of like creative outlet to then start being a bit more like creative and productive behind the camera.
Yeah, and I think like food is such a difficult thing to be able to communicate, to show how good it is on screen.
Yeah, I mean, there is, I guess, like when it looks like fancy, then it kind of doesn't even look like it. It's like a sculpture, isn't it? But then you're right. You are right. How food photography is so hard.
Yeah, it is food. I need to watch it, honestly. It's one of those shows that's on my list. That and what is that show about the meat, not scandal, with the media family?
I thought you said meat scandal. And
no.
I was like, Seaspiracy. Succession.
I need to watch that as well.
That's phenomenal.
Is that no? That's
no, that
not,
was
that's
last
done.
Year's big winner.
That was.
So like this year, the Shogun and The Bear are the big winners. Last year, The Bear and Succession were the big like top nominees.
And you've seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith, right?
Okay, I've stopped watching it.
Okay. So that's the movie, but the show.
Yeah, I was enjoying it, but I just think maybe movies are like the right runtime.
Yeah.
Like, did a movie need to be 10 hours? I'm not sure. But I do love Donald Glover. He's in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, as well as an actress.
Maya Erskine.
So yeah, it's a good show. Like, it was nice. It was fine, but I just haven't fully.
Because I can't really imagine it worth watching 10 episodes of spies who are like married, who don't know the other person's a spy. Something like that, right?
I think my short-term memory is so bad. I think it kind of like follows on from, we're meant to believe it's like a continuation.
It's Brad and Angelina.
It's not like Donald's there instead of Brad. It's kind of like, what's like, I guess like Doctor Who.
Yes.
I've not watched that, but like the kind of continuation of like, the kind of like handover.
Got you.
It's kind of like that.
Got you.
Other big shows in the nomination list, like we've spoken about Baby Reindeer at length. That's been nominated.
Not surprised, really.
No, not at all. True Detective Night Country. Have you watched any True Detective?
No, I haven't seen any, but that's really up your alley, right?
It's right up my alley.
I mean, Jodie Foster, amazing.
Yeah.
I love her.
So I have done this show in like completely the wrong order. I watched True Detective Night County, the most recent series.
And that wasn't the best one, right? The best one was the first, like the most popular one was the first one, wasn't it?
I think season. So. Yeah. So, but it's set in Alaska. It's amazing. It's my worst nightmare. It's when it's dark for a month.
Wait, this one?
Yeah.
Night Country. Oh, sorry. Okay. This must be the third season of it.
Third or fourth.
Yeah, okay.
Because they always have different like real stars.
Yeah.
So the first one was Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Then second was Vince Vaughn, and I want to say Colin Firth.
I think that was the one that people
Colin Farrell. Colin Firth. Oh, that would be lovely.
Yeah, I would. I always get them confused.
Season 3. I do. Mahershala Ali, season 3.
Yes.
And season 4 is Jodie Foster.
Gosh, you've got a good memory.
I loved it though. Mm-hmm. I was very stressed by the fact that it was always dark. It was like a girl, there's like this one scene, it's like so arbitrary.
In this one?
Yeah, but she's sneaking out of her house. It's pitch black. I was like, risky. It's like 2 a.m. No, it was lunch. She was like, I'll be back after lunch.
Because Alaska, right?
Yeah, it's not for me.
I couldn't neither.
I like daylight.
I'd rather the opposite. Where is it? Finland, where it's like daylight, like 24 hours a day or something. I'd be very happy.
Take me to the 24 hours of sunlight.
There's an animated show, Blue Eye Samurai, which is on Netflix, which I'm obsessed with. And I know not everybody loves animated shows, but it's an animated show for adults. And if you just watch one episode, you forget that it's an animated show. You feel like it's a film. I think I've talked about it before on here on Culture Bites when we were in our old studio. But it's basically, again, interesting theme that I'm interested in. Japan, when it was closed off from the rest of the world, and there is a samurai who has blue eyes, which means that their father or mother was not from Japan. Right. So it makes them like an anomaly in that time because Japan was closed off. So who is this person's parent and how could they have come to existence?
Okay.
And this person is on a vendetta to get revenge from these lords, and we don't know why.
This is ringing a bell for me. Have you spoken about it before?
Yes, I have.
See, I listened to you.
Yes. It's a really good show. And I think one of the reasons it's great is because even though it's an animated film, like cinematically, it feels like a film. Like you're watching, you forget that it's animation. So I'm really glad that it's been nominated, and I hope it wins.
See, this is the nice thing about, I think, the Emmys as like a bit of an award season anomaly, because like sometimes I think when we are in like heavy award season, the films are kind of inaccessible. Like most people aren't watching. Obviously this year was a bit different because like Barbie and Oppenheimer were the main two.
Yeah.
Then they were quite like mass appeal, but usually they're quite niche art films that people like everyone isn't watching. But with the Emmys, like there is like if everyone's watched something that's on that list.
And you also have to go through effort to watch those films in the Oscars, meaning you have to go to the cinema most of the time. But these, they're like on TV, like HBO or OSN or whatever. So it's just more accessible, like you say, to watch.
I like it. Well, we'll see you in September. We'll probably have another chat about what wins.
I want to talk about something that very sad that happened this week. Iranian artist Farhad Moshiri passed away this past week. He is, for those who don't know him, he is an Iranian artist, one of the most well-known, I would say, like popular, best contemporary artists from Iran. He is represented by the Third Line Gallery here in the UAE in Esad Avenue.
Yeah.
So he passed away this week, and they released a statement about him and his work. And again, for those of you who don't know, he's one of those artists that he trained in the US before he moved back to Iran. I think in 1991 he moved back to Iran. And he's very influenced by pop art and conceptualism art. So pop art, for those of you who don't know, it's like the Andy Warhol stuff, right? So it's like the art that's very much influenced by the images of the moment, by advertising, by celebrity, by just images that we see every day and then reframing it in a fun way within an art gallery.
And like sometimes quite tongue-in-cheek, right?
Yes, quite tongue-in-cheek. And it's like we say, it's like kind of accessible. Like, oh, I recognize this thing. I know it, you know? And then conceptualism is the idea, is artwork that doesn't really care about the technical craftsmanship of a piece. It's more the idea. So I guess one of the famous conceptual artworks is like, I can't think of one right now. It flew out of my head. So, for example, Oldenburg is an artist who just drew this idea of having a massive teddy bear in the middle of Central Park, like 50 feet high. It never got built. I guess like a lot of Tracy
Emin's quite conceptual, and like her bedroom.
Yes,
and then like
the bedroom. Yes,
is it Dupont and the
and the toilet, the urinal. Yeah, perfect example, actually, better than my example. So he combined both of these ideas of having something that's very visually appealing with a very rich and strong concept. And on top of that, layered his Iranian side, which is like the technical images or the technical craftsmanship of Iranian art and Iranian history. One of his like most famous series of work was called The Vases, that he'd been working on since the late 90s, which is a series of vases that are sort of reminiscent of like the old Iranian vases that have different imagery on them. So he used calligraphy, different kinds of paint, different kinds of colors, and they're painted or they're actual physical vases. And he's one of those artists that continuously produced work in different mediums. He wasn't like just stuck on painting or photography or sculpture. He just kept creating. And I have a lovely quote by him where he says, "I think part of the fascination I have with the art making process is that you don't know where you're going. So it's probably best to say that I am responding to the unknown, looking for the undiscovered." Oh,
that is a nice quote. And what a nice way of like looking at art and the creation
of any art. Even writing or music, you're just creating to see what happens.
Yeah.
So I had the chance to meet him very briefly a few years ago when he was in Dubai. I think it was during Art Dubai. And he was just like a lovely person, lovely man, just really interested in creating art and really interested in all the art around him. So it's a really sad loss, actually.
Yeah, it's sad. And he was young. He was 61 years
61,
old.
very young.
And that's tragic.
So if you haven't heard of him before, I suggest that you Google. We have a few articles on him on our website as well, on The National. So Google him, look at his work, read up about him, read about his life. It's a really it's sad that he's passed away, but sometimes it's a good way to learn about art from the region when you first hear about an artist. It
is tragic though when artists are like more recognized after their death than kind of as like the greats they were when they were alive and producing. So they didn't get to maybe see that kind of celebration.
And he's one of those artists as well, I have to say, that has so much different kinds of work. So it's not like you see one work and you know that it's him. Like he has such a wide range. So anyone who's no matter what your taste is aesthetically or in art, you'll find something of his that you'll appreciate and like. And it's very accessible, but has this really amazing, rich meaning usually behind it. So yeah, Google him.
A very visual story.
Yes, very visual story. Big story this week.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about something that's like very big and in the news.
Yes, that had me a bit confused at the beginning. It's a bit complicated.
Yeah, so Bella Hadid has been removed from an Adidas campaign for the kind of relaunch of some trainers. That's the
gist.
headline.
That's the headline.
That's the headline.
Yeah.
But it's a complicated story. Do you want me to run through it?
Yes, please. And if I have questions, I'll ask. Or if I want to add something about something that I realized, I will. Yeah.
Okay. So this kind of all kicked off at the end of last week. So Bella Hadid is obviously the model. She is Dutch Palestinian, but grew up in America. Her father, Mohammed Hadid, we've spoken about a lot on this podcast, is a Palestinian man who lives in the US. And Bella has been very, very outspoken. She makes no secret of her Palestinian heritage, and she supports Palestine. And so she was one of a collection of faces of a new campaign for a new pair of Adidas Originals trainers called the SL72s. And so the SL72s...
So far seems very normal.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So the SL72s are kind of like vintage-inspired shoes inspired by the 1972 Olympics, which took place in Munich in Germany. And this is where it gets complicated. Because at those Olympic Games that took place in 1972, there was... they took place at the Munich Summer Olympics. And at those games, they were kind of overshadowed. Really, the sporting event was overshadowed by the Munich massacre, which is when 11 Israeli athletes and coaches, as well as a police officer, were killed by members of a Palestinian militant group. And the motivation for that attack was the ongoing Palestinian-Israeli conflict. So this is going back to 1972.
So just to recap, like these sneakers are linked to that Olympic year.
Yes,
they are. Yes.
So they don't reference that attack.
Yes.
Obviously, that would be beyond comprehension.
Yeah.
But they reference, they're like known as like the Munich 72 or the SL72s. So they were inspired by those Olympic Games.
Yeah.
A lot of things happened to those games they obviously took place in Germany. They were the first games to take place in Germany after World War II. The first games in Germany were in 1936, which took place in the context of Nazi Germany, 3 years before World War II started. So they were significant games for Germany. So then the Munich massacre is a very, very...
And it overshadowed, from what I understand, everything all the wins that happened that year, really. If you, like you said before, if you Googled the Olympics 1972, the first headline or the first story would probably be this massacre.
That's kind of is like a very kind of key association with that event. So there was some outcry from the American Jewish Committee, who were pretty vocal about the choice of having Bella Hadid, a very pro-Palestinian celebrity person in the public eye, kind of fronting this campaign. They said for Adidas to pick a vocal anti-Israeli model to recall this dark Olympics is either a massive oversight or intentionally inflammatory. Neither is acceptable. We call on Adidas to address this egregious error. So that was last week they put out that statement. Adidas responded. They apologized they said they were conscious that connections have been made to tragic historical events. They then said, as a result, they were revising the campaign. And the revision of the campaign was to remove Bella initially from a lot of the social coverage of the campaign. But she stayed on the website for a few days. But kind of in the time since, she's kind of been taken.
So she's completely off it now.
From what I know, yeah. And she also, Bella Hadid also had content surrounding the campaign up on her social, and that's all gone now. Since then, so that was on Friday. Over the weekend, things kind of evolved a little bit. Since then, Adidas has apologized to Bella, among other people associated with the campaign. They said, on their Adidas Originals social media platform. Connections continue to be made to this terrible tragedy that occurred at the Munich Olympics due to our recent SL72 campaign. These connections were not meant, and we apologize for any upset or distress caused to communities around the world. We made an unintentional mistake. We also apologize to our partners, Bella Hadid, ASAP Nast, Jules Condé, and others for any negative impact on them, and we are revising the campaign. So Bella's been named in the apology, along with, I didn't know who the other two people they named are, ASAP Nast, he's a rapper, and the other man they mentioned, Jules Koundé, is a French footballer. So they've apologized.
So why are they apologizing to those?
I guess because the campaign now is
they're
really
part of the campaign as well. Got you. Okay.
So Bella wasn't the only person fronting this campaign. It was a group of people. So
So that is a lot.
It's complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where we stand now. So this is, for context, we're recording this on Tuesday. This could change in the next couple of days, but before the podcast comes out on Thursday. But at the time of recording, there's a lot of rumors going around, and we at the National try not to deal with rumors. We deal with facts. And people are saying that Bella is planning to sue. Like, none of that has been, none of that's come from Bella.
Confirmed, and it's not confirmed by anyone.
As it's like, so you asked me earlier, like, why did she do this campaign?
Yeah. Because she's very aware of a lot of things. So one would assume that she would have made the connection, maybe?
Yeah. I think, I obviously don't know why Bella took on this campaign. I would say the most likely is that she was under contract. This isn't the first time she's worked with Adidas. She's worked with Adidas before. And particularly with Adidas Originals. So I'm guessing it's contractual.
Yeah.
Like, you would maybe have thought that she could have said, I don't think I'm the right person for this. But I don't know. We can't speculate on that kind of...
We also can't understand why Adidas themselves would have not made that connection, whether they were unaware or whether they thought it wouldn't be a big deal, or
it would fly under the radar.
Yeah.
No, I've got no idea, because they don't make any secret of the shoes being like a reference to or inspired by the Munich 1972 games. Yeah. So that's not a surprise. That's not a secret. Like, on the website, I actually copied it out. So on the Adidas website, they have the SL, they call them the SL72 OG shoes inspired by a historic race revamped for today. First released in 1972, the shoes have, and then it's just like boring stuff about nylon. But they reference it.
Yeah. So it's surprising, and it kind of makes you think about how much research should brands be doing, or due diligence should brands be doing whenever they're referencing anything historical. And now specifically when you have so many models who are very vocal about a range of issues, not specifically this, that whether they are the right fit for a particular campaign.
It does. It seems like an absolutely enormous oversight. It seems very confusing from both, every side. There's something else we were talking about, because a lot of there were kind of other groups that were initially kind of calling for the boycott of Adidas for some of its connections to Israel, and kind of criticizing Bella
right?
there. And so there's every section of this, there's people that are
not happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how they got to the stage where it was Bella in this campaign.
Yeah, it was a big blind spot. But it makes me think a lot about the positives and the negatives of celebrities, and particularly models, being so vocal on their social media platforms. I mean, or just publicly, because now it's great that some people who traditionally in their, models before, never used to have opinions, never used to talk. Like, when I think about the Trinity in the 1990s, Naomi Campbell, Chrissy Turlington, Cindy Crawford, they weren't really out there talking about politics or whatever. They were just kind of like a clean billboard, and you could just stick anything on it.
Even today, when people hear Naomi Campbell talking, they're like, that's her voice?
Yeah, she sounds like that.
That's what she sounds like.
Yeah.
And then when people hear Kate Moss, they're like, that's your voice?
Exactly. And even them now, they don't really have strong political opinions. I mean, Naomi Campbell talks a lot about diversity in the fashion industry, but they don't have very strong social or political opinions that we know of publicly.
Yeah, if we're sitting here right now, we're like, okay, what does Kate Moss really back? We're like,
we'll have no idea.
That's one quote I can think of from Kate Moss that I'm not going to say on this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. So in a way, it makes it easier for brands to work with those kind of people, because you can put anything, they can work with any brand and they won't have any kind of affiliation.
Yeah, but isn't that horrible? Sorry, I interrupted you, but the kind of idea that a person isn't a person, they aren't a voice box, they're a clothes horse.
Of course, or a mannequin or a hanger. Yeah, for sure. So it's, in a way, it's good that models today have, I mean, not just Gigi or Bella Hadid. I'm thinking of Carly Kloss or what's the one that was Ashley Graham.
Ashley Graham.
Ashley Graham. You know, they're very vocal, and it's great for them to be able to talk about a range of issues, but also what does that mean for brands?
Yeah.
Is that going to ruin their careers? Because brands also need to work with models and also have their own, like, they don't want to be caught up in this sort of controversy sometimes.
But the thing with this is, like, this is another comparison we made earlier. If we think about the kind of very literal journey of a story at the National, nothing is ever just like, it's shocker, it's not operated like a blog. One person doesn't write something and then go, publish. There are so many layers that.
And people are surprised when you tell them that. You know, like how many people read one piece, one story.
It's easily like 4 or 5 sets of eyes on a piece that go up, and sensitive pieces even more. But so that's a story at a newspaper here. Mm-hmm. The idea that this decision didn't happen just like one person woke up one day and were like, oh yeah, we've got Bella on contract, shove her in it. Yeah. Like that, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know the inner workings of Adidas, and I also don't want to upset Adidas because I do like Adidas.
To be a fly on the wall.
It would be interesting.
Yeah, right.
It would be interesting.
But actually, I mean, this is a bit off. But I don't know if you ever watched the Anna Wintour documentary, the September issue. Did you ever watch that? A couple of years ago, there was a documentary of the team of Vogue creating the September issue.
This is the second time I've spoken about that today.
Oh, really?
Which is so, and then the first Monday in May, the other Condé Nast documentary.
I've seen both, but have you seen that?
I've seen both. Obviously.
Oh, you've seen both, yeah, of course. So it was interesting to see, like, behind the scenes of the process it takes for magazine covers, for advertising campaigns, for articles, and like this is a magazine, like you're saying, or the National is a newspaper. So when I think about a massive
there's so many layers of approval. But hey.
Who knows?
They got that one through.
So maybe by next week we'll have, or the week after we'll have some more.
There might be a bit more of a conclusion of the story, but it might also just kind of go away now.
Yeah.
The thing that I will be surprised at is if we do get an official statement from Bella, because she is under a contract. So I don't think we're going to get anything official there, unless it's a legal thing.
Unless when her contract runs out, then she'll come out with a story at GQ or Vogue or something and talk about it.
Because breaking that contract will be big.
I thought she was resigning or retiring from modeling. I remember.
I think she's just very selective with her things that she does now. She likes horse riding. She's always
must
out
be
there.
Nice.
I'd love it. If I could just resign and do some horse riding.
Yeah, do some modeling every now and then. That would be nice.
Yeah, dabble.
Dabble. Yeah.
Shall we close things off with our recommendations of the week?
Do you want to go first?
No, I'd like you to tell me what's on your mind.
So last week I went to a really great show. If you're in Dubai and it's summer and you want to see a really great show, I recommend you go to Ayyam Gallery in Asakala Avenue. There's a wonderful photography exhibition, a group exhibition. And I'm often always talking about painting and sculpture because I really love the medium of painting. And generally photography, I feel, doesn't get as much attention these days because we all have a camera on our phone and people kind of underestimate the power of an artist behind a camera. So anyway, there's this great group exhibition called Lens and Light, Moments in Focus in Ayyam Gallery. And it's highlighting a range of Arab, Middle Eastern photographers and artists who have taken a different range of photographs from their work. And it's all put together under the theme of photographs in different mediums. So you have photo collage, you have like photo manipulation, you have photojournalism, or like stage photography. And they're all dealing with identity within the Middle Eastern context. So it's a very cool exhibition and so many different styles of photography. And some of the artists I'll mention is Sama al-Shalabi, who's an Iraqi artist, Tamam Azzam, who's a Syrian artist that I interviewed earlier this year, who's amazing, and Faisal Samarra, who is a Saudi artist, and a French-Syrian journalist, photographer, Ammar Abdurrabo, who has an amazing photograph of people worshipping at Mecca, and it's a bird's eye view photograph, and so you see them facing the Mecca and there's shadows in front of them. It's a stunning photograph. So I'd recommend you guys go check that out.
I'm going to add that to my list.
It's on until the end of August.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay, my recommendation. Oh my goodness, I've been racking my brain this week because I was basically doing nothing. However, I had a very, very nice meal out. A real treat. I went down to Oceano. Have you heard of it? It is a wonderful restaurant at Atlantis the Palm. It's a 1 Michelin star restaurant, and it's inside the kind of aquarium. Well, not inside the aquarium. It's got the aquarium like all on the outside. So, and it's a seafood restaurant. It is not a meal. It is genuinely a journey. Like, it's 12 courses.
Wow.
Whoa. And I'm not going to, because if anyone does go, I'm not going to spoil like the surprise, but you kind of get taken, you get seated in like a kind of lounge area, then you get taken to another room, and then you get taken to your table. And a lot of the courses are kind of, it's not theatrical, it's not cheesy, it's not hammy, but there's an interactive element to some of the courses.
Right.
It's the brainchild of a chef called Gregoire Berger. I am hoping I have not butchered his name, no pun intended. He is a French chef, and the menu changes every season. So at the moment, it's called Waves, and it's like kind of like his sort of life story through food. So it kind of starts in Brittany, where he's from in France. And then we go to a holiday that he had in Japan for like a bit of a Japanese-inspired course. And his wife is Moroccan, so there's a couple of Moroccan-inspired courses. Then we go back to France. It's wonderful.
That sounds amazing, actually. That sounds really cool.
Yeah. So I was beyond spoiled. When we were in there, a couple got engaged.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like in the table next to you, or someone in the water come?
No. It wasn't like, I've seen that though.
Yes, so have I.
I wrote a story about it.
Yeah, you did.
No one popped up, as far as I saw, with a scuba suit on doing the proposal. The man and woman were both there, and they were both dry. But they, they got engaged, and people started clapping.
Oh, that's so nice. That's really lovely.
So what I noticed about it, because obviously it's in the Michelin Guide, and I felt like there were a lot of people that were there because they were kind of there on holiday. It was like their really big treat. People beside us definitely were there on holiday. They were talking about it to the waiting staff, who was so friendly. It was wonderful. So if you have the means to go and have the treat, and it is a treat, it's not a treat.
And you have
meal.
the stomach space for a 12-course meal.
There's small
there's
courses.
tiny? Okay.
It's like fine dining.
Okay.
But yeah, we did, at one stage I was like, are we going to leave hungry? But no, we certainly did not. But I didn't also get rolled out of the restaurant.
Okay.
So,
good balance.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
So that's my recommendation for the week.
Where is it again?
Atlantis the Palm. Oceano at Atlantis the Palm is a fine dining seafood restaurant. So that's it from us for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please follow and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app.
And don't forget to tell your friends all about it, and follow us on social media.
Bye.
Bye.